Yeah, 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 yo, yo. Yeah, 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 yo. About in all shapes and sizes. We will be talking about Shedeur Sanders again because he is keeping these lights on. And we will also be talking about a documentary made from pure pettiness. But first, to start, we are talking about decisions that happened on Saturday that played into decisions that happened on Sunday. This past Sunday is probably one of the best Sundays that you could probably imagine if you are a football fan, right? Last Saturday, the selection committee made a decision to have the 12 team playoff. The 12-team playoff is now set. That was set at noon. And then you also have a bunch of NFL games taking place with good NFL teams, right? We have really separated from the haves and have-nots, and now we are just down to a few teams fighting for a few spots into the playoffs. So first, we are going to have we have the 12-team playoff. If you guys don't know, the first game will be on the 19th of this month. And then it will carry on through there. So we have your number one overall seed in the situation that no one expected. The Indiana Hoosiers of Indiana are number one. The number two team is the team that they defeated to win the Big Ten. That is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Number three is the Georgia Bulldogs. Number four are the Texas Red Raiders. No one really expected them to win the Big 12, but here they are. And then the final brackets we have number 5, Oregon. They will take on James Madison. Number 12, we have Oklahoma taking on Alabama. We have Tulane facing Ole Miss, a rematch game, but very rare for one of those. And then we have Miami in taking on Texas A&M. We have our first team out being the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So I want to talk big picture first, and then we're going to get really minute to this. Okay. College football is a beautiful sport in the sense that it is truly essentially like a bunch of guys got together and said, hey, how about a bunch of our schools played each other to see who was the best? And just imagine those like 5 to 6 guys expanded to like 20, and they lived in all different parts of the country, right? There's no rhyme or reason why we do X. There's no rhyme or reason why we do Y. Why do we have 12? Why is it not 16? Why is it not 2 again? Should we go back to 8? None of it makes sense. The only thing that matters is that people's pockets get lined, okay? Greed is the reason why we have this. College football and college sports in general, and a lot of sports in general, are innings eaters, as you would suggest, right? The biggest takeaway that a lot of people have had is Notre Dame not getting in, right? There's never been a point where I always felt that we need to debate whether or not the 12th team deserves a chance to get to the national championship. As the once great Stephen A. Smith used to say was, fair is where they sell pigs, okay? That does not exist in life. Nothing in life is fair, okay? You get what you deserve and you move on for it. But what we have done is we have now blown this thing up, and now it will, unfortunately, it will keep blowing up because we have a 12-team playoff now. I will not be surprised if we will have a 16 playoffs. And the overall concept of, I know that college football is different and is very much paid to play. We are still talking about very young people playing. Like this is, I know there are some kids who are still maybe in their mid-20s playing. By and large part, we have teenagers and early 20 kids playing. And while they are making money, they're not making nearly the amount of money that an NFL player would make, right? On an NFL contract. There is a point where there is too much football to be played. Okay. Like we are already had a 13th game played, right? Ohio State essentially had to play a 13th game. To win the national championship, they're going to have to defeat either of Miami or Texas A&M. After they beat them or potentially beat them, they're playing their 15th game after that. And then if they go even further, they're going to have to play a 16th game. We're almost at a full football season at that point, like an NFL season. So the idea that we were just going to expand and have kids playing more and more football is simply to a fact of greed, and we have completely watered down the product. It is not entertaining to have a debate about a 3-win team getting in and potentially winning the national championship, right? For what it's worth, I'm actually perfectly fine with the way that the bracket is set. And by and large part, ever since they've gone to this 12-team playoff, I've been fine with it. The thing about this, and this is the whole thing, this gets to honestly a larger discussion about ESPN and their role in all of this, is the college football show, right? The selection committee show, the show that they do every Tuesday with the guys up there. It is meaningless. It's meaningless. It means nothing. The idea that Notre Dame thought with 2 losses and frankly not great wins that they were going to be picked over Miami, who they lost to, made no sense. It made no sense. Okay. And now that the athletic director is saying that there is an grievance against, or we're going to have a problem with the ACC now, the relationship is ruptured. I'm just calling cap. There's too much money to be made by Notre Dame, and Notre Dame very much likes their independent status, and they are going to keep doing this just because that's how it is. They're in a conference that, relatively speaking, isn't very good. I mean, the team that won the conference won 8 games, all right, and lost 5, all right. That is your predominant of your competition. That is your decision. Okay. You've decided to be in this. You could be in the Big Ten if you wanted to and keep your independent status. You could play Michigan and Ohio State and Michigan State and Purdue and all these other teams if you chose to, but you don't want to. Okay. Now, again, I'll give you credit. You played Miami. They're a team in the playoff, even though they're still an ACC team. They were clearly a good team, right? So I'm not going to completely kill them on their scheduling. I am simply just making the point that you do not have a birthright to get in when you didn't beat anybody, okay? The structure of the whole thing is fundamentally broken when you had to make these points because, newsflash, Notre Dame fans, I don't really care if Alabama got in. I don't think Oklahoma should get in. I don't think Ole Miss should get in. I don't think Tulane should get in. Don't think Miami should get in. Neither do I do. I think Texas A&M should get in. I think it should have been the 4 best teams, and you leave it at that. But now you have made a situation where the playoff is the only thing that now matters. And to give Notre Dame some flowers, some credit here, I do completely agree with them. Why are you playing in a bowl game? We've made it very clear that the playoff is the only thing that we care about, right? We care about the race towards who can potentially win the national championship, okay? Once you've made that decision, the bowl games became meaningless, all right? So I don't care to watch the Zip Line Bowl. I don't care to watch the Indeed Bowl. I don't care to watch the Apple Bowl. Like, once again, inventory on a screen for people to watch, okay? This is nothing to do about completing out some type of fake contract. The contract was to make the playoff. If you didn't make the playoff, get ready for next season. If you want to play, or you want your young guys who haven't played a lot this year to maybe get some experience, you just want to go against another guy, you have some more time to practice guys, I'm all fine with that. But if a team's like, nah, screw this, we're out of this, that's their choice. None of those games matter. Can anyone remember who won the Cheez-It Bowl 2 years ago? It wasn't a thing, okay? The playoff is all that matters. And if we have this playoff all that matters, all these other bowls are, like I said, just on to be on. Hopefully the idea that less is more becomes more of a point. I'm at least willing to keep this, but I know how these people work. Greed is ultimately the thing that gets them going. And so I am very, very scared for this to be a 16 playoffs. And then when that gets messed up, it's like, we got to expand it even more. And it's like, there has to be a cutoff line just because like there is not a physical ability for them to be able to play all these games. We are like really pushing the limits of like human bodies. Like grown men are having a tough time getting through 17 games in the NFL. You think these kids who aren't as developed, aren't as strong, as fast, or all these other things can make it through a 16 game schedule, 15 game schedule? That's not possible. All right. So as much as the money has just infiltrated all this stuff, I want everyone to just take a nice step back, calm down a little bit, and understand that there's always going to be someone left out. You have to draw the line somewhere, right? There's a reason why there's a door. Okay, you have to have a separation at some point, and arguing for teams that have 2 losses and 3 losses, 2 losses of which none of their wins were very impressive. Let's just say impressive. Were over like really really good teams. I don't see the purpose of you know having it all out for them like that. So, got it done, even though I don't think that this actual like pathway makes much sense for Alex to go. Sliding on over now to professional football and another great franchise who is also probably pretty pissed. Yes, the Chiefs looking like it is going to be over for them. They fall 2010 to the Texans. We said this before on this podcast. I think they're done. Um, I thought them losing to the Cowboys and the Broncos was kind of the nail in the coffin for them. I think this game was the emphasis of it being done. If you had watched the game, no one on the Chiefs really played well. I probably would say outside of Chris Jones, outside of like the top guys. And to me, Andy Reid's the best coach in football right now. I think he's one of the best coaches of all time. You saw him press. When it was 4th down and 1, he was in his own end zone or in his own territory. He's at the 30, 31, 32-yard line. So 4th and 1, decided to go for it. They were tied 10-10. The reason why Andy Reid went for it, because I felt like he was pressing. Because I felt like he was like, I have the ball. There's only so much time left. I'm going for it now because I do not trust the fact that even if I get this ball back, even if I punt it, I'm going to be able to move on these guys. I'm trying to move it right now. And he didn't get it. And in the moment, I didn't think it was a good move, and obviously ended up not being a good move overall because you can say was the decision that cost them the game, right? Because I remember I texted some of my friends in this group chat of saying, I felt like the Chiefs were going to win because to me, there was a point where CJ Stroud went like 0 of 8. At one point, he was like 0 of 8 or 0 of 9. Like he didn't make any passes. They weren't moving the ball at all. And Chris Jones, like I said, really was taking over in that quarter. And to me, it's like, okay, if I punt it again, this guy hasn't moved the ball on me once. I can at least play the field position game. And then even if I need to, just bleed this clock dry and kick this field goal and try to get this win. That didn't happen. And it just seems once again that this year for them is over. Now, I think the larger part of what's happening to the Chiefs, I think speaks to now the AFC and specifically to Josh Allen. Not every year is the same. I don't think every single team is the same. Like there are teams that even the Chiefs, if you ask them, like of your Super Bowl teams, which one was the best, right? There's always going to be things that one team did better than the other team and yada, yada, right? I do not believe personally that this is Buffalo's best team since Allen's been there, right? I don't think this is like the best team that they've had together. But sometimes, man, when the path clears itself, when we just talk about life not being fair, there's no excuse for Josh Allen not to get a Super Bowl. Like none. And I don't necessarily think that's fair because I don't necessarily think his defense this year is that good or is as good as some defenses have been in the past. But as the great Kendrick Lamar once said, F the big three, it's just big me. All his big three competition is out. Lamar might make it, and he's also playing like trash. Burrow's not going to make it. Mahomes is not going to make it. It's just him. And his pathway is beating some combination potentially of what we talking about. CJ Stroud, Bo Nix, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence. And again, as we've spoken about before, it is not just all about quarterback play. I completely agree with that. But he's so far and away going to be the best quarterback in the conference, barring something crazy happens. Lamar gets in or by some means the Chiefs sneak their way in. He does not have any more excuses to not get there. And it is going to be fascinating to see because I'm not sure if they're going to win the division. They play the Pats this coming Sunday. and they are 2 games back of it. So they have a chance to tighten the race a little bit more. So it's not over for them to get home field advantage and win the division, but it's not necessarily like a foregone conclusion that they do so. And I think for Josh, being able to like almost channel that kind of pressure to know he's not a dumb guy. He can look at the standings, right? Like it's right there in front of him. It's right there in front of him, and your chance to go to the Super Bowl in, mind you, your hometown. People forget the Super Bowl's in San Francisco this year, or Santa Clara, whatever. And Josh, while he's not from San Francisco, he's from like that part of he's from that North Cal kind of area. And it will be fascinating to see if he's able to finally get this franchise not only to a Super Bowl, they haven't been a Super Bowl in 30 plus years, but to actually capture their first Super Bowl victory in their franchise's history, for what's going on. And that storyline hasn't been told so much as of yet, of how the Chiefs' demise is objectively a win for him. But this will be something that will kind of be something talked about going forward in the next couple of weeks for Josh. Sliding over to, I guess, my op, which I don't think is an op, but is what it is. Shedeur Sanders. Yes, we have the probably the guy who's going to win Rookie of the Week. I mean, maybe if the guy, someone else loses. Shedeur Sanders and the Browns did lose. They lost 31-29 to the Texans. I'm sorry, to the Titans. Let me not mess it up. But he played great. Not good. He played outstanding. That was by far his best game of the season. He had 4 touchdowns, threw for 300 yards. I think they said he's the only rookie to throw for over 300 yards. Though I think now, if you look more at the NFL, it is way more about your ability to be efficient and not necessarily your yards being thrown, because throwing for a lot of yards has somewhat of a concept to it, which is in this game was they were down 31-17 at one point, and then once you're that far down, you have to keep throwing the football. However, stats so far for this season, he's still under 60% completion percent. He's at 58%. He's thrown for just under 800 yards, 8.3 yards an attempt, which is a solid number. Not great, but definitely a solid number. He's got 5 passing touchdowns. He has 3 INTs. So I'm talking about Shedeur for a sec, and then I'm going to talk about the Browns franchise for a sec. This one game, I think, if you are obviously a fan of Shedeur, is going to be your rubber stamp moment of he is here. This is a franchise quarterback. He should not be benched. He was all the conspiracy theories that you want to believe, right? And what I say to that is you do know that his numbers are very much similar to Dylan Gabriel's. Dylan Gabriel has a slightly higher completion percentage. He has more touchdowns and less picks than Shedeur Sanders. He's taken less sacks than Shedeur on the season, and Shedeur's only played like 3 games. However, my point still stands, is that is what Standum ultimately kind of gives you, is this idea that he is this God's great gifts to earth, right? I will say is that he is a guy who should absolutely be the starter for the rest of the year. And then if no one saw it, Kevin Stefanski came out and said that Shedeur Sanders will be the starter for the rest of the year. It's only 3 more games. He is on a trajectory right now, or playing like a guy that you can see is like, okay, this guy could be our franchise quarterback. And I'll slide over to the Browns in a sec, but there have real implications on what happens in the draft for them and where they can actually benefit the most from this draft. But they are going to eventually face criticism from both sides now because of how he is playing, in the sense of, A, why was he not playing earlier? Which I don't necessarily kill them for that as much, just because like you are trying to win games. And if you have a rookie quarterback, you can't just throw a rookie quarterback in there because you don't really know what you're going to get. And you can't just start a guy who's never played and clearly needed some time to develop and get some stuff going. Hence why you had Flacco. The other side of it is he done enough to consider for you not to draft a quarterback, number one? And that to me is the bigger point of all this, is the Browns right now are 3-10. They're one game back from having the number one pick in the draft. This quarterback class is very wonky to be clear. I don't necessarily know if there's necessarily a guy. I do not see a star in any of these guys coming out. However, it is not about what I believe. It is about convincing a GM or the group of NFL players, or actually executives, to believe that there is one in there. Because the Browns surprisingly have had a very good rookie class. If you look at like Bill Barnwell's like breakdown of like the rookies, currently their linebacker is like the best rookie overall so far. So they do have young talent, not necessarily going to be great talent, but they have young talent. And they have 2 first round picks from the trade that they made with the Jags to get Travis Hunter on the team for the Jags to say. So if the Browns are in a position where they have the second pick in the draft, right, or the first pick in the draft, it is going to be very hard, in my opinion, for them to draft another quarterback if Shedeur keeps playing this well, right? Because the fans are already in love with him. He's gotten the vibe to the team, and he's shown that at least he has some ability to play in this league, right? How they manage this will be fascinating because I do think there's going to be some type of disconnect between him and the coach. And I don't know if you can like want to overcome that. You want to keep that. I'm not sure because I don't know what would be the best for Shedeur on the Browns, right? If you have the number one pick in the draft and there's a quarterback that people like and you bring in another coach, Shadeur's not going to be his guy. And I don't necessarily know how that relationship would work potentially, no matter how good he's going to play, because you rather have the extra year of the guy on a rookie deal. You have a fifth year. And if you take Shedeur in, because it wasn't a first round pick, you're only going to have 3 more years left to evaluate him. You're coming in with a new guy. It's your guy. It's a guy you pick, a guy that you believe in. And you can have this whole new system set up for you versus keeping Stefanski. Stefanski's going to have the tape on Shedeur, see everything that he's done, and the GM drafted him, right? There's going to be more incentive to keep him. So I am in it's a very interesting time for a 3-10 team to have these many question marks about them going forward. But like I've always said, I'll give the man flowers when he is. I'm still not bought in on the hype. I've not smoked the vape pen of that, but it is good to see that he was able to play well at home, and I would argue have the opportunity to win the game. Now, I'm not going to kill Stefanski for the play. If you actually watch the play again, if the guy just hands the ball off, he's going to score. Like he's there's no one on the backside, and both guys are blocked. But play got screwed up, and I'm going to take a page out of like it's like the idea of like it's like how should I even put this? It's like driving really, really fast, not on the highway, while drinking. Both acts are bad. The drinking part just makes it worse. You know what I'm saying? You are turning up the volume, my guy, by taking him off the field. Now, I understand. I do not believe that you were out here trying to kill the man's career. The man's a millionaire. He will be fine. But that part of it seems to be kind of, you know, just negging people on at this point, right? Lastly, what we have for you guys, talking not about sports in this time. We are getting close to the end of the year, and we have a special episode for you guys. The last episode of the pod will take place in 2 weeks. So not this week, but the following week, where we will not be necessarily talking mostly about sports. We'll be talking about something else that I love to talk about. But over the weekend, really 2 days, I was able to finally watch the Sean Combs Reckoning, right? And if you are interested, I highly suggest for you to watch. I'm going to first talk about 50 Cent, and then I'm going to talk about actually things that take place. I think 50 Cent, like people say a lot of times, like, oh, I need that motivation, right? Like, what did Michael Jordan used to say? It's like, talked about his passion, right? Like he just said, "Oh, I took it personally," right? And everything everything this guy did in his life, he took personally. I really think 50 Cent's creative mind gets triggered by pettiness. It is fascinating how good this documentary is. Like it's a very well done, well put together piece of work. And his beef aside with Diddy, there's a lot of like things in here that I would actually say is just very important, right? Like, cause me, again, people don't know, 33 years old. Diddy was already who he was by the time I became like functionally knowledgeable of hip hop, right? Like Biggie Smalls, Tupac were already dead by the time um, I was like conscious of understanding music. And it's so, at least for me, it was so refreshing to kind of see like how the generation, like right before my generation of hip hop, was almost formed and formulated, and seeing like the things about like the East Coast West Coast beat that you learn more about in this documentary. You learn about how Diddy really came up, and like just the idea that he just went up to over to someone's house and was like, "Hey, I want to work for you," and that's how it kind of got jump started. And like all of these like more, I would say, hip hop touch points that like I didn't really know or understand very well because I wasn't there, that I think are just very, it gives great context of the whole story. And then if you get into what I think most people are there to watch the documentary for, it is a 4 episode just unveiling of how the pursuit of power is one, the pursuit of power and the pursuit of money is not just a lonely road, it is an emotionally damaging road. I mean, truly blackening of a soul type stuff. The things that Diddy allegedly did in the process to get to where he is now is truly unforgivable. Like, truly unforgivable. And it is a like reminder that one, all money is not good money. And you don't want to lose yourself on the pursuit of on the yellow brick road, right? You don't want to lose yourself on the way to try to meet odds. And I think the main takeaway that you take from this is Diddy's obsession, in my mind, of pleasing or trying to get recognition from men he thought he was powerful than, right? There was a lot of um incidences where Diddy would be dirty macking, you know? And not dirty macking in the sense of like, I think early on you can see it, and this is how you know like dirty macking is a hereditary thing or a genetics thing. This dude was doing this from the jump with his first wife, Kim Porter, right? Who was dating someone else at the time. Uh woman that Diddy's involved with, that is named in this doc, was involved with someone else prior to them getting with him. And it just kind of once again speaks the idea of like this was Diddy, right? Like he could have been with anyone in this world at this point when he was coming up, right? Like he was that famous. And yet he was just so obsessed with taking dudes girl or trying to like get these um girls away from these guys. And it just became such a obsession of his that it ruined his legacy. And the I think just one of their like crazier moments was just with the escort stuff. And I won't repeat any of that stuff here right now, but definitely go check that out. But the inability to just find peace and happiness is just what the overall takeaway of this is. But it is a damaging, damaging, damaging piece of work. And I have my thoughts that I will share later on the pod that I do with my guests when we just talk hip hop overall of what I think Diddy's pivot will be because newsflash, P Diddy's going to get out. You know, um, where he kind of goes, I have an idea of where I think he might try and go to, but he will be back in the limelight, so to speak, sooner rather than later. I think people don't know that like he's almost out right now, and it will be very interesting to see what he tries to do to, I guess, restart the flames essentially. Um, but yeah, all right. That's all the time that we have. Thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Like I said, like, subscribe, review, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell a friend. I'll be back talking to you guys later this week. All right. Peace out, y'all.